All right, let's now shift our attention to the other big story, where in the United States there is a new storm that is brewing inside the Department of War, as it is now called. After establishing a set of rules and policies for the military, there is now a new protocol, a whole new protocol for media in the United States of America when they want to interact with the Pentagon. The Pentagon wants the journalists to sign a media policy, but not everyone wishes to comply. Now, the American President Donald Trump has backed the move. He's floated by the Defense Secretary, or the War Secretary, as he should now be more appropriately called, Pete Hegseth, calling the press to be dishonest.
I think I can speak for him. I'll let him speak for himself, but I think he finds the press to be very disruptive in terms of world peace and maybe security for our nation. Press is very dishonest. Not you, but the press is very dishonest.
Now, Trump's comments have come a day after Pete Hegseth shared a post on social media platform X on the new protocol for media access. Now, in the post, Pete Hegseth has written that access to the Pentagon is a privilege and not a right, followed by a list of new rules that media persons are now required to adhere to. The new policy bars journalists access to many areas of the Pentagon and also prohibits them from seeking information by talking to officials in the department. Journalists will now have access only to the information that is approved by Pete Hegseth for a press release.
The Pentagon press corps, of all press corps, would be front and center across the board on wanting to give credit to the president for forging this kind of peace, and instead what they want to talk about is a policy about them.
Now, at least about 20 news organizations have declined to sign Pentagon's new policy, which dictates some fresh terms for what the journalists can access. The New York Times, the Associated Press, Reuters, the Washington Post, the Atlantic and Newsmax are some of the big names that have rejected the new rules. Now, critics say that this goes against press freedom and is a move to control the media and the narrative. And several news outlets have said that the Department of War's policy infringes on the media's First Amendment, that is right to gather news.
The Trump administration is trying everything they can to control the media, but they won't be able to do that. They just won't. Unless our Supreme Court continues its trend of disregarding the facts and giving Trump everything he wants. But right now the law is very clear that the government can't stop the presses just because they don't like what's being written.
In response, the Defense Secretary's team has said that journalists who do not sign and adhere to the new policy will have to hand over their Pentagon admission badges and should clear out their workplaces. All right, now joining us on the broadcast with more details on this, we have my colleague Susan Tehrani, who's joining us live from New York. Susan, this is a controversial sort of a media policy that the Pentagon has issued. Help us make sense. Why is the Pentagon concerned about journalists trying to access the corridors of the Pentagon and information that comes out from there?
Yeah, this is a bizarre comment on the part of Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, because journalists have been at the Pentagon and the Defense Department for many years and decades. And there is a vault. Everyone knows that you don't access that. It's almost like asking the White House press corps not to go storm into the Oval Office and try to get information from the president. No one does that. We have to call it for what it is. Basically, what they want to do ultimately is take information and spoon feed it to the media. And they're saying that if the Defense Department, the War Department doesn't give a go-ahead on the stories that media outlets want to publish, then they're not going to be able to publish it. This means not soliciting information from any member of the military, which is something that journalists do. They get backgrounders, they get quotes, they get information from individuals. It also means that even unclassified information, if it's not okayed by the Defense Department, the Department of War, then that can't be released as well. This is tying the hands of journalists, and that's why we're seeing that almost no media organization here in the United States has agreed to do such a thing. There's one far-right outlet called One America News. They have agreed to do it, but they're very fringe. They're not mainstream. And, I just want to say, Mohammed, getting information out to the public is one thing, but there are a lot of military personnel and family of military members who rely on reports that are coming out from the Pentagon, from the Defense Department, the Department of War, that is very critical to them. It's important to them. And so we may see a sort of course correction moving forward, but it's very surprising coming from someone like Pete Hegseth, who was a former journalist.